Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Jenna Flanagan. New details tonight about the scandal surrounding now former Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. A fifth woman has described what she calls a disturbing first and last date that involved lots of drinking and aggressive behavior. This, as Governor Cuomo appoints Nassau County District Attorney Madeline Singas as special prosecutor to investigate the allegations that the now disgraced Attorney General assaulted 4 women, taking the inquiry away from Manhattan DA Cy Vance, who was none too happy with the decision and decries the move as politically motivated. But politics aside, is there a legal case against Eric Schneiderman? Should we question the timing of these women's allegations? And how will this he said, she said play out in a court of law? So here to break down this complicated case is former sex crimes prosecutor Wendy Murphy. Wendy, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you, Jenna.
So first, I do want to talk a little bit about this jurisdiction of the case. Is there really a precedent for Cy Vance to be so upset?
No. This is a perfect case for a special prosecutor to become involved for a lot of reasons, including that Schneiderman was involved in challenging Cy Vance's decision not to go after Harvey Weinstein. And even that alone would be grounds enough to have someone entirely independent take over. But this really isn't a regional prosecutorial case, run-of-the-mill, send it to the DA kind of case. This is the chief law enforcement officer for the entire state of New York facing extremely serious allegations. It should be handled by someone above the fray, above all the positions of power with regard to law enforcement in New York. And that's the right thing to do. A special prosecutor is the only option.
All right. So turning now, of course, to what may be happening with charges being filed, et cetera. First of all, is there something to be said about questioning the timing of this article coming out? Eric Schneiderman, as we know, had been very involved in subpoenas and suing the Trump administration, et cetera. And for a lot of people, it seems really odd that now this article comes out.
Yeah, I think we'd all like to talk to Ronan Farrow about timing and who sparked whom to make the first call. Mm-hmm. Was it politically motivated is a fair question. On the other hand, and there's no doubt about it that Schneiderman going after Trump has raised a lot of political hackles for people, but Schneiderman gone doesn't mean the entire New York Attorney General's office is now not going to have a role to play with regard to Trump or anything else that's already been going on. So I think it's a little bit naive to think that getting rid of Schneiderman means that anything that may have been politically motivated is somehow now not going to continue. That's where I think the issue almost doesn't matter. It's important to ask the questions, was this politically motivated? But at the end of the day, it just might not matter.
And that is exactly some of the pushback that I was seeing, at least on social media, that Schneiderman is not the office. They are not one and the same. So if he's gone, the office continues. But moving towards the accusers. Now, what we read in the article, it was solid reporting on the part of the New Yorker, and the stories were verified. But do they stand up in a court of law?
Well, that's always a jury question, isn't it? Some jurors might say they believe the women, some might say they do not, but that's why we have juries. You give the jury the option of believing beyond a reasonable doubt or not. With regard to criminal charges in particular, we have to understand that the word of a woman, one woman, is always sufficient to bring a criminal charge. The decision about credibility is sometimes vetted by the prosecutor in advance, but most of the time a responsible prosecutor will say this is a responsible citizen who reported a crime. This person should have their day in court and let a jury figure it out. So in terms of the charges, I think an interesting question is now what we know about what the women have said, assuming they're telling the truth, what charges could we see? And unfortunately, and I've said this on so many other occasions, but New York law stinks when it comes to violence against women. It's really bad. It's incredibly difficult to prove rape, and we don't have those charges here. But that's just an example of why New York really needs to get its act together and revise and reform some of its laws that pertain to violence against women. But in terms of just the facts reported in the New Yorker story, I think we have some hope of seeing a criminal charge for what we should be calling strangulation, because there were a couple of allegations of strangulation in the story. under New York law, they technically call it restraining breath. Or, I mean, there's some other euphemistic way to
Ironically, that was a law that Schneiderman himself, I believe, drafted or at least pushed through the legislature.
Yes, he did in 2010. And I'm not sure I would call it ironic so much as strategic. I mean, when a guy is doing very bad things behind closed doors, what better defense against ever being held accountable than to attach yourself to the cause of protecting women? It's just so typical of men who are behaving badly, putting up a false front to insulate themselves. Because, look, I'm sure the women were thinking, not only is he the chief law enforcement officer in New York, he's been the name and the face of all these anti-violence against women initiatives. Who's going to believe me? And even if they believe me, will they want to take him down, given that he's doing so much good for women as a class? That's why I find it not only ironic, but probably strategic and despicable at that.
Well, there's definitely a lot involved, the reaction with this story that I think has garnered up a lot of emotions, and that is certainly a very valid one that you brought up. Wendy, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the program and giving us some clarity into what exactly stands in a court of law and what, of course, will be public opinion that we'll all have to wrestle with.
You're welcome.
Thank you.